Hey everyone, a few show notes before we begin this episode. Just want to thank all listeners, both old and new, for joining us all year. It's been a wonderful year for us. We got our Spotify Wrapped in, and we were just overwhelmed by the numbers and really happy for all the support and for all the listenership out there. So wanted to make sure we thank you. We do have 3 episodes left on the year, and we hope you join us for those 3 episodes or these 3 episodes. And secondly, and most importantly, we're talking about 80s music on this episode, and we ended with a little fun sort of debate about who would be our 80s Mount Rushmore, the 4 most important artists. And we neglected, and it's unforgivable that neither of us said Prince. I think Prince would absolutely be on all our Mount Rushmore. And of course, we do talk about Prince because you can't talk about 80s music without talking about his royal badness. But at the end, I was doing the editing and thought, oh boy, I hope one of us mentions Prince at some point. So just an important distinction before you get to that part. Know that we all love Prince and we all believe that he should be on our Mount Rushmore. And then lastly, we will be posting on our social media, we'll be posting a story on Wednesday to see who you would select to be on your Mount Rushmore of 80s artists. So look out for that. Go to our Instagram at Formidable Opponents. We'll be posting that and posting the results and maybe talking about it a little bit. And if you'd like to join us for a future episode, if you host a podcast or are interested, just reach out to us. We love collaborations. We'd love to do a guest for guest. And we're very excited about future guests and, of course, rounding out the year and having another successful year in 2024. So we still have 2 more episodes left after this one. And once again, we thank you. We thank Prince. And let's begin our show. Welcome to episode 104, Formidable Opponents, a show that pits 3 people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging, and critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph, and this week's topic is Best 80s Pop Song. The 80s, a time where technology and aspirations were thriving and the middle class was resurging. A time of excess, an era where drugs, technology, and paranoia were soaring. In the 80s, we saw an emergence of electronic dance music and modern pop that incorporated computers, keyboard future sounds, and if you weren't adapting, you were failing. See David Lee Roth's solo career. When 80s pop predecessor, the disco era, arose, we weren't quite at the pulse of what spoke to us across the culture. The idea and design were scratching the surface, but the absence of amalgamating rock, a variety of influential beats worldwide, was voided by any meaningful sustainability. Enter 80s pop music. Pop music, on the other hand, benefited by spawning distinctive chords, impactful lyrics, and rhythms that traded in orchestral sounds and brought us back to our guitars, back to our drums, while introducing us to new technologies. You cannot deny the keytar. If you're a music fan that puts 80s music in a box, that chastises the frivolity of the era, consider the constant influence, the frequent comebacks. After all, artists long past the decade consistently are influenced by the sounds that were made popular by the preceding generations. Vintage equipment is now being used alongside retro guitar licks. Music hasn't gone bad, and if you say that, you're simply not listening to the right things. The groundswell of 80s influence artists are there, and that pop sound, though saturated nostalgia, never really left us. Yes, it was aided by a tech spike and a video channel, but all that helped to create some of the most iconic pop songs of all time. This week, Formidable Opponents debates and discusses Best 80s Pop Song. As always, I'm joined by 2 guys who shout, "This is what it sounds like when doves cry," right before they put their hands under their armpits and squeeze down to make fart noises. Bob and Joseph, how are you guys doing?
That was elaborate. That was very specific. We got to let it all out.
Joseph's got a new microphone, everybody, so he might sound the best out of all of us.
It's very weird. He keeps holding his hands on the side like he's like caressing the mic, like kind of like a Prince thing.
He's got he's got a purple scarf around it. It's very very topical.
Yeah,
very Steven Tyler.
We're gonna see how it does. If you like it, let us know.
You like the sound of my voice?
Then we might be making some changes along the way.
Changes.
So, guys, we had some great. Just to go back last week, we had some great feedback on that Nicolas Cage episode. We'll do many more actresses episodes in the future. But here's something interesting: the 2 episodes on actors that we've done were Chris Farley and Nicolas Cage. What do they have in common? Iconic scenes featuring bees. So Farley and Tommy Boy and Nicolas Cage and the Wicker Man. So therefore, we have to complete the trifecta. Next episode will be about Macaulay Culkin. He probably had the best bee scene or the worst bee scene. I don't know.
Oh, fuck. That's cold-blooded, man.
We got to do that.
Thomas J. didn't deserve it. J. didn't deserve it.
Congrats to him.
Congrats to him. Yes, on getting the.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Congrats to Macaulay Culkin. Really nice. Big fan as a kid. Still a big fan.
Also, we just posted our Spotify Wrap this week. We're very thankful for the positive growth and the numbers. It's not much compared to Big Time Podcast, but for 3 guys who thought that only our friends would be listening to this, it's really awesome to see that support. And that was only off Spotify. So, and of course, the numbers are a misnomer because compared to 2022, I believe we had 300 more hours of content in 2022, which is like 5 more episodes. So we've had to take some time off this year. So it's an improvement. And we're very thankful for everybody who's listened to us, especially on Spotify for that Spotify Wrapped. I thought it was such great news to see that.
Yeah, it's awesome, guys. We want to thank you all. We're sorry again for Randy rapping, though. That's neither here nor there. Just like white guys dancing in 80s music videos, but we're going to be talking about that today.
We're very thankful. I will say this. Our most downloaded episode of this year is Best 90s Rap / Hip Hop Song. So I made the joke to you guys that a lot of people were probably thinking they were downloading a music playlist and they were saying, I downloaded this to listen to Tupac, not Three Dicks. So I don't know. We're talking 80s music. It's been a while since we've talked about 80s music on this show, guys. So happy to bring this topic back and happy to talk about 80s pop music. So to start off, guys, why was the 80s such an important era for pop?
It is the best. It's the music video. I think that MTV was at its peak during the 80s, and the music video just exploded, and kids were staying home and not only listening to music, but they're watching the music video that went along with it. And I think the 80s pop sound just exploded because of MTV and the music videos. Not to mention that you had over 1 million, genres of pop music in the 80s, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's so many different styles and so many different forms of pop music. You had Madonna to Duran Duran to George Michael to Talking Heads. I mean, there's just so many different flavors of 80s pop music and rock in general and music in general of the 80s, but especially the pop sound. So many different genres.
Yeah, I know.
After all that, yeah, I know.
I don't think it was actually like
the best era for pop music.
Well, it's super, super important as far as pop music goes. I think it's a fun era, obviously, of popular music. We all have a good time listening to it. And listening to the songs we did the other day. It definitely brings back nostalgic feeling, but ultimately I feel like there was so many like actual good bands that did pop music in the 80s, and then there's a bunch of shit groups that just had like one hit wonder, which is fine. Like it's good for them.
So the 80s is kind of the one-hit wonder, like capital of the decade. True. They had the best one-hit wonder, the most one-hit wonders, and the best one-hit wonders, I believe, came out in the 80s.
So it's that whole dime a dozen thing. It's like I said, it's nice. It's definitely nice, and we enjoy it, like I mentioned. But I just don't think it's not super important as far as pop. I don't know. I really can't define. I couldn't give you an answer for that. Like, what is the most important era of pop music? Really
now, to respond to that, is it the best era or the best decade for pop music? That's to be argued. I think it was one of the most important as far as bringing pop to a new level. It brought pop and technology together like never before. I mean, you had computers, you had synthesizers, new instruments were being introduced. I mean, what was the biggest contribution of music innovation before that? Peter Frampton's Talkbox in the 70s?
Do you feel like I do?
We paid more attention to the world, to economics, to global disputes. Music grew in the 80s as movies, sports, and television did. I get it. We have or at least I have a romantic sort of romanticize this era because that's when I was ages 3 to 13. So did a lot of growing up in the 80s. But I think as far as importance,
Gotcha, how old are you?
I think as far as importance, I think the 80s, maybe not the best, but I think there's a difference. Not the best, but maybe the most important era of pop music. My opinion.
And this will segue us into your next question. I think maybe you feel that way because of the advantage that they had. And I think Bob touched on this too. They had MTV.
Yeah.
MTV.
And I know that's going to segue us into the next question. Ran?
Well, speaking of MTV was important, Joseph. Yes, it was. It gave us that added visual. Do you remember the first 80s artists you saw where their sound and style influenced you? Like the music video completely just turned you into a music fan or a music video fan or a pop 80s fan?
I can't say it influenced my style, but one of the first music videos I remember seeing in the 80s and thinking it was so fucking cool, and maybe it did influence my sound a little bit, is Dire Straits' Money for Nothing.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, good one.
That was such a cool video to me.
Joseph's never stopped wearing a headband since.
a good song. I love that song. I liked in the video there was that one dude with like he had like a black mask and then he had like a neon like visor around his, like, I don't know if you remember that. He's on like one of the album covers or something. I don't know. I remember that, and it goes back to that added visual, so it was really cool for me to see that back then. And it was a rock. Well, it's considered rock, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a pop song. It's a pop.
It was a very popular song too. That's probably one of the first videos that I can remember seeing. And it's funny because my dad showed it to me. He wanted me to see that video. He really dug it. So I was like, that's cool. That's one of the first ones I remember.
Billy Idol's Rebel Yell, dude. That's one of the first videos I recognize or remember seeing a lot of times in the 80s in a song. Obviously, Billy Idol being this huge star in the 80s. Kind of a cool music video. And then to see a dude with, the vest and the gloves and the spiked hair. And it's supposed to be, it's poppy, but it's also supposed to be like
song too.
Punk, what I mean? It's kind of a cool, it's a great fucking song. And Billy Idol, he's the man, he's the legend. So that's one of the first music videos, seeing this guy jump around and sing and like, got this tough guy look, but he's got this really like poppy, catchy song too that goes with it. So it was pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's the one that sticks out to me.
I think for me, the one that sticks out the most was Duran Duran's "Hungry Like the Wolf" because I wanted I wanted to look like these guys. If you look at my hairstyle, like 10 years after the fact, my senior year in high school, I tried to style it like Duran Duran.
At least it wasn't Flock of Seagulls.
So I just
like Flock of Seagulls.
I love Duran Duran. I love their look, the way they sounded. They always had the most beautiful girls in their videos. They always had the best style. And their music was actually pretty good. So Duran Duran was just a huge influence on me becoming a pop fan.
They're going to say a man.
That too. Yeah. So fun question, guys. The 80s gave us a lot of charity songs. The biggest one being We Are the World by USA for Africa. Every big American 80s star was in this. And Dan Aykroyd, for some reason, who's not a singer and he's not American. So one glaring absent star was Prince. And you can argue Madonna as well. But not having Prince there was just unforgivable. Give me your reason why Prince should have been in this song and who should he have replaced?
First off, it's We Are the World, not We Are the United States, Randall. Don't be an asshole, okay? Aykroyd deserved to be there. Aykroyd is a fucking Canadian saint, okay? And, I don't know if Prince should have been on. He's not very charitable. I mean, the only thing Prince really donated in the 80s was his outfits and his semen to all the single moms in his local area, dude. I can't really see him doing anything else that was charitable. But if he was going to replace somebody, I think we've had this conversation. Bob Dylan, whom I love, was high off his ass during that song and that music video. He should have been nowhere near. He should have been in a van somewhere, something. It just he's easily replaced by Prince, easily.
Because nobody really had a solo in that, right? If I remember correctly,
they had their individual lines. They had their
lines.
Yeah,
and they were doing lines before the.
He could have sang
that high
like
pitched laugh?
with a back and forth between. I believe Michael Jackson has his own line, and Prince could have been in there. I think I wouldn't have asked him to sing. I probably would have said, "Hey man, why don't you play like a badass guitar solo or something?
Yeah,
Add something.
that's a good point.
Add some
Flair.
Flair. Yeah, I was about to say flavor. You said flair. Same thing, pretty much.
What would Prince have said?
I don't know who he would have replayed. I think I'd have to go. Yeah. What do you think Prince would have done in that situation?
I don't know. Look up. What did he say?
I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to look at the people. I mean, obviously the one that stands out too. Yeah, of course, Bob Dylan, because he didn't look like he wanted to be there at all.
Yeah, he just looked so lethargic. And by the way,
he was just walking around looking for like a snack or something. Like, hey, do you want to come in here and sing? He's like, yeah, sure. They got donuts or.
And Bob, I know the name of the song is "We Are the World," but the name of the band is "USA for Africa," not the world for Africa. Anyway, so
it's just America, sir. It's America.
I would say get rid of Huey Lewis. I don't know if you've seen that clip where Michael Jackson is pissed off because Huey Lewis can't hit the pitch. Michael Jackson's like staring.
Oh, Michael Jackson doesn't believe in the power of love either. Fuck that guy.
So I would have replaced Huey Lewis, but keep Steve Perry because that guy did great on his solo. He was awesome. 80s music, such a big influence to all of us. We're going to go on to our honorable mentions.
Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me. Now, I want to make sure and mention this. You know, I chose songs that are like essential 80s, like great songs. Like they not only are they great songs, but they make you think about the 80s. And Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me. I mean, shit, that's Breakfast Club. That's an 80s staple right there.
Mm-hmm.
I also had Flock of Seagulls, I Ran. Crowded House, Don't Dream. That song is fucking amazing.
That's a good one. Yeah. Timeless.
Talking Heads, Once in a Lifetime. Another one that's just an amazing song that makes me think of the 80s. Joseph the Cure, Just Like Heaven. I know Joseph's not a big Cure fan, but that's a great fucking song, Joseph. It's a great song. George Michael's Careless Whisper. I mean, it's fucking George Michael, dude. Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time. Now, I had this little talk and debate with Creative Little Pill before our show, and she was saying, well, you got to mention Madonna, Material Girl. And I played for her Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time. I go, which one had a bigger impact in 80s music, or which is a better song, 80s pop? And she's like, I have to give it to Cyndi Lauper. And I agree, too. Like, I love Madonna. I think Madonna is just amazing, and she was one of the biggest artists in the 80s, but I think Time After Time is a better song than Material Girl. Maybe somebody can debate me on that.
Bob, can I interrupt you there?
Go ahead.
That's a great point. Cyndi Lauper doesn't get enough credit. Everybody sees her as the crazy sort of girls just want to have fun, but she could sing. True Colors, I Drove All Night, A Change of Heart, A Time After Time. She could sing. As far as talent, Cyndi Lauper, I think, was amazing, but she doesn't get the credit. She doesn't get the credit because everybody's all about her fashion, her style, and her fun music. She's a great singer. Yeah,
dude, I agree with that 1,000,000%. She's a great singer. That song, that Time After Time song, I mean, it's hard to touch. It's hard to beat any other female artist in the 80s. That's a tough one to top.
All right, I got Blue Monday by New Order. I also had Hungry Like the Wolf. I have Let's Dance by David Bowie.
Let's Dance.
I got Beat It and Thriller by Michael Jackson. Love Will Tear Us Apart by Joy Division. I Ran. Of course,
that's In Excess, right?
No.
Oh, that's never. Okay, I'm sorry.
Computer terror.
I Ran by Flock of Seagulls. I mean, how could you not? That's like quintessential 80s.
Do y'all like Space Age as well? Space Age was a great.
Space Age Love Song is great. Yeah,
it's a great song. I wouldn't say it's the best one, but it's a really good song. Sorry, Joseph, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I got Glory of Love by Peter Cetera.
I love his
baby.
How can you not mention Party All the Time with it by Eddie Murphy?
Whether
you like it or not, massive hit. Just can't get enough. Depeche Mode. Should I Stay or Should I Go? The Clash. Sweet Dreams.
Should I Stay or Should I Go? I love that.
That's one of my favorite songs. Don't You Forget About Me. Simple Minds. Under Pressure. Queen and David Bowie. Don't You Want Me. The Human League.
Yes.
I had When Doves Cry by Prince and the Revolution. Not my choice of song or particular song that I like to listen to. I think you can't do a list like this without mentioning Madonna. So I
for sure,
I'm going to give credit for Material Girl because I know Bob was just talking about it right now, and I agree with what he said about Time After Time. But Material Girl,
you got to mention Madonna. I get
it. It had a lot of it's of the time.
I like a Prayer.
Like a Prayer, Live to
like
Tell. Yeah.
Yeah, Like a Prayer, the music video was crazy good and very controversial, but I like that one a lot.
And Madonna had some great. Crazy for You was another great
Oh
song.
yeah, Crazy for You was.
Yeah.
I always think of who's singing it. It's Chris and Family Guy. Joseph, Chris, he's singing Crazy for You.
Yeah, I think so.
Madonna had some great songs. I mean, she's definitely up there. So all those Madonna songs for my honorable mentions. I also have "I Want to Dance with Somebody" by Whitney Houston. That was a great song. I also had "Party All the Time" by Eddie Murphy. "Come On Eileen," don't make that joke. Dexy's Midnight Runners. "Karma Chameleon" by the Culture Club. I had "Africa" by Toto. "Tainted Love" by Soft Cell. "Like a Prayer," of course, Madonna. I have it listed here too. "Thriller" and "Beat It," Michael Jackson. "Power of Love," Huey Lewis and the News. "Jump" by Van Halen. "Money for Nothing," Dire Straits. "Don't Stop Believing," Journey. "Need You Tonight" by NXS, who I screwed up your selections with, Joseph. Sorry. I had "Your Love" by The Outfield. "Don't You Want Me" by The Human League. "Don't You Forget About Me," Simple Minds. "Addicted to Love," Robert Palmer. "You Make My Dreams," Hall & Oates.
Might as well face it, yeah.
Yes. "Hungry Like the Wolf," Duran Duran. "Living on a Prayer," Bon Jovi. I'm almost done. "Summer of '69," Bryan Adams. "Dancing in the Dark" by Bruce Springsteen. And my final five, "Every Breath You Take" by The Police. "With or Without You" by U2. "I Want to Know What Love Is" by Foreigner.
I want you to show me.
A "Total Eclipse of the Heart" by Bonnie Tyler, and of course "Careless Whisper" by George Michael. I had a lot more than this listed, and I kept chopping it down. It was such a great era for pop music, and so happy that we're going to get to talk about it.
Can we mention "Addicted to Love" that we were watching that
ahead.
music video? Like, Jesus Christ, he had all these models with slick back hair. Joseph thinks that he used the same models in both music videos.
Yeah, I think so.
I never even knew he did another video with basically the same style.
Simply Irresistible.
Yeah, Simply Irresistible.
Like, is this basically the same group of girls that he got from the first one?
It fucking worked for the first one. Why not fucking? He was just trying to sleep with each and every one of them. He didn't get to all of them in the first video.
I forgot to mention "Goodbye Horses" by Q Lazarus.
nobody mentioned Eddie Money's "Take Me Home Tonight."
That's a great song.
Man. That's true. That's another one.
There's so many. It's tough. It's tough to list them all because there's so many. It really is. Betty Davis Eyes. What do you guys think about that one?
Betty Davis Eyes. Well, we just move on.
Nobody mentioned anything by Billy Joel either. I mean, come on. Uptown Girl. 80s Billy Joel.
Strictly 80s Billy Joel. Listen, motherfucker. What movie was that? Is that from
Step Brothers. Yeah.
Step Brothers.
Ratio Sense.
Yeah, he's fucking losing.
Hey,
that was great,
man.
dude.
Calm down.
Piano Man. Nobody mentioned Piano Man.
Yeah.
No, he had some great hits.
Have you seen the meme? It's like, for a guy singing Piano Man, he sure does not shut the fuck up with that harmonica.
Incredible, man. All right, Joseph, you have our first selection. What do you got for us?
All right. A lot of what we think about 80s pop is, dance, the synthesizer sound, things like that. This whole aesthetic, the whole highlight neon music, I guess, the clubs and all that stuff. It didn't have to be all of that. I think it could be real and it could be emotional. And you get that with this song. So I'm talking about "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" by Tears for Fears. By the way, those guys gave us some great hits. Did any of y'all have them in your honorable mentions? Shout and Head Over Heels.
They're great songs. I didn't have them, but I do love it. That whole album.
You didn't even mention Mad World, dude.
Yeah.
That's another one too. What a band of the 80s. Anyway, but this one in particular, I think is special. It's a serious pop song. One of the best opening lines I think I've ever heard from a song. "Welcome to your life. There's no turning back." I think that's fucking deep. I mean, I know
that's what she said.
I know, with 80s pop, like I said, dance or something else. But let's be real, man. This was a massively popular song, just albeit a different tone. It was released in 85, the year I was born. So I can't claim to know what they were feeling at the time of writing, but I do think it's pretty obvious. And not just by, the title of the song. We all do want to rule the world, whether you want to admit it or not. And I think
I just want to pay my bills.
I just want to be left alone. Be fucking quiet for once.
I love all that too, but we all secretly do. I think they told this great, sad, emotional story of the times that they were living in. Listening to it now and listening to it at some point in the 90s, probably when I first heard it, its lyrics are timeless. They really are. The song itself is obviously rooted in the 80s. Like I said, not a dance song, but definitely of the time. sequence and whatnot. But the lyrics, whether they realize it or not, were very impactful, very important, even to this day, oddly enough, in our current situation. And I think that helps it stand out from the pack, stand out from a lot of the other hits that we mentioned. It's still relevant, amazingly. What are we, almost 40 years later?
Yeah,
no, something like that.
Yeah, 38 years.
Jesus Christ.
And aside from all this, like whether they wanted it to be or not, its commercial success is massive. You know, to the extent we still see it in commercials, we still hear it in commercials to this day. It's used. It still appears in movies to this day, and of course, it was number one on many charts throughout the world. So I just think this song, although you know midway through the decade, came out in '85. I think because of its lasting impact, I think it's the best of the '80s. Guys, what do you think?
So you mentioned how Tears for I'm sorry, Bob. Did you want me to go first?
You go first. You go first.
Cool,
yeah.
Cool. So Joseph, you
Never
mentioned.
mind. No.
So Joseph, you mentioned how Tears for Fears is such a good band to have in your movie, because a lot of people do. The most memorable use in a movie for Tears of Fears for me was the Donnie Darko scene when they're all getting off the bus and they're playing Head Over Heels, because it's such a good song, and it's probably their most. I guess it's probably their most pop song, Head Over Heels.
Yeah,
I don't know. You could argue that because it's a little
definitely
more upbeat
used in the movies.
Yeah, using a movie, and they're a great band. "Sowing the Seeds of Love" is another music video I like a lot. A great song as well. So I screwed up. I'm gonna admit something. I completed my notes last night, and I thought Joseph selected "Shout" by Tears for Fears, and I did all the notes for "Shout," which it's a good song, but it's kind of a long, repetitive song. So I slept comfortably knowing I was going to get him, and then something woke me up in the middle of the night. I'm almost 47, so that happens frequently, right?
Moore's Day in the Pips. Wrong shout song.
So it wasn't. I woke up in the middle of the night and I said, I got to read my text again. And then I looked and I see that Joseph selects "Everybody Wants to Rule the World." Like, okay, that is a good song. So now I got to come up with a different strategy. I had the band right. I just had the wrong song. So shit, I had to do it again. So I did my research for that song today. And of course, we're going to talk a lot about Billboard toppers. This song was number one in 1985. I think all the songs we chose spent number one or spent some time at number one on the Billboard's Top 100. Tears for Fears is an extremely smart band. They don't fuck around with rhyme schemes and dance tunes. These guys are like professors of music, and they're very methodical about the way they deliver their songs. Their album, Songs from the Big Chair, is a fantastic album. We mentioned the three huge hits, Shout, Head Over Heels. Those were two other songs from that album that charted. This song was a last minute addition to the album, was "Everybody Wants to Rule the World." It's shocking. They said, we're not going to put the song in the album. It's got a different tone. It's a little far-fetched. It's not really a pop hit, but they added it last minute. The song's lyrics detail the desire humans have for control and power, as you mentioned, Joseph. And of course, with the economic and global power issues that were fiercely prevalent in the 80s, the song absolutely was bullseye. It was perfect. This was like a Cold War anthem. The lyrics are as poignant today as they were back then. So it was used for the last scene of Real Genius, starring Val Kilmer and some guy who looks like Jessica Parker.
Shout out to Val Kilmer. Love Val Kilmer.
Have you guys watched that movie? Have you all seen Real Genius? Oh,
yeah,
movie.
dude. It's been a long time, but yeah, fucking Val Kilmer looks crazy young in that movie.
Yeah, it's great. One of his first big breakthrough movies. It's a moral imperative. You have to watch it. So it's got that synth pop pedigree. The 80s sheen is there. But I think out of the three picks, this song sounds the least like an 80s song. Of course, we're gonna talk, and that's a compliment as much as it is an argument about this topic. I'm also a little pissed because it knocked down Wham's "Everything She Wants" as the number one Billboard song that year. So George Michael's beloved on this podcast, Joseph. I want you to know that. So anytime you mess with him, you mess with us. The music video is cool. I wouldn't call the music video iconic. I think the song's more iconic than the music video, which was directed by Nigel Dick. Some of the shoot was disastrous, but it's good to see $1.45 a gallon gas price. That brought back a lot of memories. When I saw that gas station, I had Tears for Fears. You know, I mean, remembering $1.45 gas prices when your dad would let you buy an icy, some nachos, and a pack of Garbage Pail Kids. Now, when I fill up, I buy a Nutty Bar for the whole family to share. Not even a Little Debbie's Nutty Buddies. I got them the Hill Country Fair Peanutties because gas is too expensive. That's what my kids get for doing travel soccer when I still own an SUV. Anyway, this song is very nostalgic in its sound itself, and it's timeless because it invites us to revisit without feeling the age of guilt from listening to some cornball 80s song. It's not a cornball song. It's very exquisite. Do you think I'm playing I Come From a Land Down Under louder than 9 on my volume knob? I pull over behind the Walgreens back alley to do the air flute. I will not listen to that song in public.
It sounds sexual.
This I see. That's not a publicly acceptable song. This is a good song to play. I have a friend who gigs at bars and restaurants. I have a friend who gigs at bars and restaurants, and his best song is the acoustic cover of this song. So it's got a great meaning to me because I love listening to any iteration of it. My issue is that, yes, lyrically and structurally, it's timeless. And maybe this is a compliment on the intelligence of this song, but I think a good poppy song is like Madness, Our House, or something that's poppy that gets you up and going. And I think of that before I think of anything like from Tears for Fears. They're kind of more of a mellow band. Tears for Fears look like two judgy guys. I'm talking about the two leads, Roland Orzabal and Kurt Smith. Like they complain if the hotel soap is a bar instead of liquid, or they don't look at the restaurant server and say thank you. And they do like, this salad has egg. I specifically asked for no egg. And they do like the shush away from the plate. Like they don't look at they look kind of pompous. I don't like people like that. Be kind to the staff. Lastly,
I thought it was John Cryer.
He does look like John Cryer. Lastly, I was going to make a joke that they kicked the drummer, Manny Ellis, out of the band after these videos. Because if you look at the band, they look very sort of milquetoast. They look very serious in all their videos. But he always looks super happy. He's playing the drums. He's kind of dancing behind the drum kit and having a good time in all their videos. So I was going to make a joke saying, I don't think he lasted in the band that long. I went to their Wikipedia page, and sure enough, he was out of the band by 1986. This is Tears for Fears. You can't enjoy what you do in this band, sir. You got to look as morose as the rest of us. Bob, what do you think about this song?
Before I disagree with you on I have to agree with you on the fact that Tears for Fears, collectively, their music makes me happy. It makes me sad. It makes me like want to dance and drink and have a good time. It also can make me cry myself to sleep. Has that kind of mood. It's kind of a great mood music, man. But I will disagree with you on two things, Randy. I think the music video is terrible. I think this is where it lacks.
Oh, I agree.
Besides the two dudes dancing by the gas pumps, which I didn't get, like they're the only two dudes that decided to dress nicely in this music video. It looks like the lead singer and the guitarist, the two guys that seemed like went to Kmart and got whatever shirt was there. Like fuck it, let's shoot a music video. The dancing in the suits at the gas pump that kind of threw me off. And also, I really do think that this song screams 80s music. Like if this is an 80s song, this is an essential 80s song. I know you said that it doesn't really sound 80s, but to me it does. Like when I think of 80s music, 80s pop music, 80s rock music, like this is one of the first songs that comes to mind because it is essentially 80s. It's got that tone, it's got that sound, it's an 80s song to me. So those are two little points. I disagree with you on that. But I think, Joseph, it's a great song, really essential. But the music video, and yes, this is the MTV decade. I think the music video, having a bad one, may hold it back a bit. It is poppy and it is like makes you want to sing and dance, but it also you listen to the lyrics and man, it's kind of fucking sad. You know what I mean? Kind of brings you down. I can see why you would pick it. These guys are
so dark and deep.
It's dark and ominous. He's like, I could set my microphone to bright and happy or dark and ominous.
There's actually two versions of this video.
Yeah, I do like the fact that they have Shout. I do like Mad World. I do like Head Over Heels. You mentioned that they used Head Over Heels in Donnie Darko. They also had the cover for Mad World. I believe it was Gary Jules Gary Jules. Yeah. He did the cover for Mad World, which I thought was fucking amazing. It's a better cover than the original. I mean, it's a better song than the original. But it's a great pick, Joseph. This is a great pick, great band. But yeah, shitty music video.
$1.45 gas. Come on. It's taking us back. All right. So we got Bob up next. What do you got for us, Bob?
I actually went with the pick that I made on our very first episode. What was our very first episode, Rand?
One hit wonders. Best one
hit wonders. And on that show, I made the pick of Aha's Take on Me. And I think on this show, I'm going to do the exact same thing. This was the best one hit wonder song of the 80s. And this is the best 80s pop song that came out in that decade. It's just a song that encompasses the 80s sound, the 80s look, the 80s feel. It's got everything. Take on Me is the essential 80s song. The music video, again, is probably the most recognized video of the decade. It's still one of the best music videos, I believe, that's made all time. That comic book sketch style bleeding in with real life and going back and forth. It's definitely a one of a kind. I think it's really special, and I think it's iconic because it's one of those things that you can like instantly recognize when you're watching music videos before you even hear the sound of the first, the synthesizer starting off. We've mentioned before that the 80s is the most popular decade for the one hit wonder, and I think it's kind of special that this song, Aha's Take on Me, was a one hit wonder, but it kind of like took the entire music scene by storm, and I think it's the best song. Like it definitely lasted through the rest of the decade. Again, it also came out, Joseph, when we were born in 1985, and I think it lasted those last 5 years, and it was such a powerful and great song, and it's got that pop vibe. It makes you want to sing, it makes you want to dance. Everything about it is just so good. It's got great lyrics. It could be used in like the falling in love scene in an 80s movie, or like the breakup scene of an 80s movie. It could be in a chase scene of an 80s movie. It could be in any kind of scene in an 80s movie. This shit fucking works, man, because it's such a great song. It's my favorite song of the 80s, and I think that it just screams 80s, man. It screams 80s. It really does help that it uses the synthesizer, and it has that cool synthesizer keyboard solo in it that I think is fucking phenomenal. Instead of having a guitar solo, which if you listen to a lot of hair metal and 80s rock, they play plenty of guitar solos. This one had a synthesizer solo, which was fucking fantastic. So, and really brings the song together. So I just think it's just putting it all together: the video, the lyrics, the sound, the music, the look. I think they had it all, man.
I was kind of hoping you'd pick St. Elmo's Fire by John Parr, but you didn't go that route because that would have been a fun song to talk about and a good song I like. Okay, so Take on Me from Aha, 1985, a popular song by Norwegian band Aha that just took the world by storm. And Bob, I'm glad that you brought this song up again because now we could talk about it. Now that we're 104 episodes in, our sound's better, our knowledge is better. We know how to run the show a little better.
Mic.
You just got a new mic.
I sounded horrible in that.
Yeah. We all sounded horrible. I was giving all the accolades and all the number one hits, and they were number one in the USA. They probably couldn't even hear me because I was speaking it through an iPad fucking mic.
So this song was originally released in 1984, but it failed to chart that year. The second release in 1985, of course, topped Billboard's Hot 100, bolstered by the wide exposure of the innovative music video, which looked incredible in 1985, but now is a random TikTok filter, 2023. The music video, which featured rotoscoping, a technique animators used to trace over motion picture footage frame by frame to produce realistic action. It aided in giving it a pioneering visual, and it looked fantastic, and it helped that lead singer Morton Harkett look like a movie star. I don't think the lead singer of Flock of Seagulls would have helped to reinforce the popularity of this song, but this guy looked like a supermodel, so of course
with a leather jacket.
Also, why is everyone sweating so profusely in this video? Yet they're all I don't get it. Everybody is
trying to escape the comic book.
Even the keyboard guy who just has to like press a few buttons every now, press a few keys. He's like,
hey, that fucking goes off on that solo.
That's true. That's true.
He's got 12 fingers.
This video was directed by Steve Barron, who directed Don't You Want Me by the Human League, Karma Chameleon by the Culture Club, Summer of '69 by Bryan Adams, and Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. This man's fingerprints were all over what we watched and absorbed in the 80s. So it was a huge hit, a huge number one song in 27 countries. Hilarious story. The band learned the hard way that chart success doesn't equal financial success, or at least not right away. When they found out their song went number one, they all celebrated with a huge dinner and champagne at a swanky restaurant, and their credit card was rejected. So I don't know what happened after that. Supposedly the band shouted, "Don't you know who we are?" And then they proceeded to draw pencil sketches of themselves just to prove that they're all hot. Anyway, maybe one of the top 5 singles of the entire decade. Amazing and catchy song. There's no doubt. It's my go-to karaoke song. So I love this song. It's one of those songs that you hear once and it stays with you. It's not one of those like, hey, what's that song by that band? Once you hear this song, it will stay with you. I don't know if anybody who's never heard this song, if you hear it once, you will never forget it. And that is a hallmark of a good song. I also love the female lead in this video, Bunty Bailey. You don't find a lot of hot girls who love comic books. I'm not counting those women. I'm not counting those women at Comic Cons that go dressed up for attention. I love them, but those enhancements would be very problematic for Wonder Woman's sprinting speed. Anyway, an animated hand reaches out of the comic book. I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to reach in and grab that hand and take me in. No, we won't be doing that. So she's an 80s video music crush. I mean, right behind the chick that transforms into a slutty spider and rats round and round. I love Bunty Bailey, and she's got a great name. Okay, guys, better 80s music video girl, Bunty Bailey and Take On Me, or Tawny Katane in White Snakes, Here I Go Again.
Tawny Katane, because she's doing the split on top of the hood of a car, bro. Come on.
Okay, that answers that. Okay, it's a brilliant song, but I cannot call it the best pop song of the 80s. Why? I have an issue calling a one-hit wonders band song best song of the decade. I know a-ha had a lot of international hits. We have a lot of international listeners. I'm sure that they just threw their phones across the room, but I never
Tea and biscuits.
Were there any other US hits? No. I don't understand how a band that sounds this good can be a one-hit wonder, because they sound phenomenal. This is not a campy song. It's not a novelty song.
Yeah.
It's a damn good song with talented musicians and a singer with incredible vocal range.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Sweet ass.
I don't understand why they faded away. The video is iconic. It's right there with the song. Song's great, video's great. Boom. It's unfair that Morton Harkett, who has not aged at all, I mean, women would still be grabbing his cartoon hand or whatever cartoon body part he chooses to reach out in the comic. It's not fair that one of the best looking guys in the 80s can have the best pop song. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to Phil Collins. Okay? So, I mean, I love this song. I think it's great. It's definitely my top 5, Bob. I can't deny that, but I have those issues calling it the best for those reasons. What do you think, Joseph?
Yeah, one of the most memorable, you can throw iconic in there as well, songs of the 80s. It's widely recognized. It's immediately recognized. I think people still to this day, and I'm sure back then, still have a good time when it comes on a playlist, or if it's, somebody's brave enough to randomly put it on at a bar or something, like that. I still think people are really gonna love this. I don't think the one hit wonder factor discredits it so much, or at all.
Thank you.
I don't think it has that big of an impact on it. I mean, it's interesting, and I kind of agree. I agree with we all kind of agree on it. How was this band only
not bigger? Yeah.
I guess and it's a great song. We all love it. My only thing would be, is it too obvious? Is it so recognized and appreciated and loved and whatnot that it renders it
overexposed?
No, not.
The impact is no longer there because people use it too often. Okay. I feel like we're playing $1,000 pyramid. Joseph, I'm trying to help.
I appreciate that. As I was getting to the point, I was going to say something. I just think that it's maybe it's so obvious and so loved and so appreciated that I don't know. Does it have, what kind of legacy does it have? Just that it's so loved and recognized.
I mean, it's kind of
people would think it's a. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, it's kind of opposite of what Randy says. Randy's well, they're only a one hit wonder. They weren't as big as let's say a Madonna or a George Michael's or you know what I mean? But
men without hats.
Men without. So it's so great that they were this one hit wonder, but that song is just so fucking special. I think that pushes it up. I think rather than drags it down.
Yeah, maybe it's too obvious to make it stand out from. It's weird. I don't know. I'm having trouble
wrapping your head around
how I feel about it. Yeah, because it's a great song. Because I do believe it's a great song. It's fun. We love it. We hear it. We play it. We turn it on. And I don't think like I said, I don't think the one hit wonder thing factors into it. I just think that it's comical. maybe that's what it is at this point. Like, it's so loved and so like, ooh, yeah, I love that song. Like it's become like comical.
Joseph doesn't like anything gets too popular. He likes it like medium popular, like not so popular. If everybody loves it, then he's not gonna like it anymore.
It's weird. It just has this weird balance to me. It's such a beloved song and memorable song, yet is that what makes it?
You're gonna say, is that
so,
too much?
So legend. Yeah, was that too is because of that, is that too much?
I think this song sort of falls into, it's so beloved, like Don't Stop Believing, Your Love by the Outfield. It's kind of reached that pinnacle where we hear it all the time and it gets a little old, yeah, but it's used for everything, for commercials, I think there was a Geico commercial that used this song. It's been used on South Park, Family Guy, and The Simpsons. It's been used in Corky Romano. This song has appeared everywhere.
He's like,
so I get it, it's kind of overexposed in a way, and that maybe that tethers towards Bob's argument more than mine, is that's why it's an iconic song.
Like it's crazy because of that. It kind of it helps both of you. It helps Bob. It helps Bob's argument that it's the best. At the same time, I feel that it hurts it too.
It's too much.
Weird.
Even me, when I said, "Hey, can we have a Aha cover on the cover art for the?" That's the first band I thought of was Aha. Yeah. So I didn't say, "Can we all?" Can we all look like Duran Duran? Can we all look like? No. It's can we do Aha? Because why? Because that image is cemented.
Yes.
I wanted us all to be different versions of George Michael, but maybe one day we could do that. I think that'd be great. I call it Shotgun on Wham.
I'll do the Faith,
the jitterbug.
But no, did you have anything else, Joseph?
No.
It's weird. My argument against it is
it's
also kind of what helps it. So it's weird. It's a tremendous pick. I mean,
thank you. Oh, you said pick. Yeah, thank you.
So I mean, I don't know. I look at like iconic, going to like the 90s and thinking of iconic songs, how if you pick something like Smells Like Teen Spirit, yes, we listen to it all the time. It's on a lot, but it's not as omnipresent as Take On Me. Take On Me feels like it's, maybe because it's sugary, maybe because it's a sweet song, that it's very sanitized to the point where everybody can enjoy it. No matter if you're young, you're going to listen to that synth piano and you're going to dance to it. If you're older, you understand the lyrics because of the impactful meaning. So, I mean, it's definitely a top 5. I'm making more of an argument for Bob than trying to go against it. But it's so weird how that song can be a staple of a decade where you had Madonna, you had Bruce Springsteen, you had Michael Jackson, but Aha is right there with them as far as the most memorable song of the decade. It's crazy. It's a crazy phenomenon for this one-hit wonder. I know that's an insult because they're a very good band to have that much of an impact. So we'll wrap up with my selection. I selected Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, 1983. I know there's a lot to be said about Michael Jackson's personal life, but I'm going to focus on this song and Michael Jackson, the artist. That's what we're going to focus on in this debate here, or for this selection. There was a time circa the 90s trash TV era where guests would go on the Maury Povich show and take paternity tests to prove they weren't the biological father of some poor kid sitting clueless in the green room. If the test turned out the man was not the father, they would celebrate like they just won the Super Bowl. But before trash TV, before televised paternity tests, there was Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. Now, Michael didn't need a paternity test to prove he wasn't the father. He just needed ill-fitting pants and a lit-up sidewalk. So now imagine you're so convinced, so angry, and so adamant that you're not someone's father. You decide to moonwalk backwards and angrily dance and sing for 3 minutes, while the rest of us dumbasses would merely ask, well, are you sure the kid's mine? Wearing our Dallas Cowboy jerseys, New Balances, and denim shorts, of course. The video has reached 1 billion views on YouTube, and the first comment is the best comment. 0% auto-tune, 100% hee-hee. So
what the fuck?
You have to connect the video. That was the video era, so it's only proper to talk about the music video. I know we're not debating the video, but I have to mention my favorite part of the iconic Billie Jean music video. Michael Jackson tosses the quarter to the homeless man's cup, and the homeless man transforms into a white suit. The guy was like, give me some money or give me the rest of your Olive Garden. What the hell am I supposed to do with a white suit? Billie Jean was written.
Good.
I think he's got a date at the end. Like he walks off with a woman. Anyway, Billie Jean was written and composed by Michael Jackson, blending post-disco, R&B, funk, and dance pop. What a perfect blend. He was inspired to create the song based on groupies' claims about his older brothers when he toured with them as a Jackson 5. Yes, Tito was having the same amount of sex as Mr. Feeney. Also, a psychotic fan that claimed Michael was the father of her twins, and she was later arrested or admitted into a hospital. There's no distractions here. Thriller was theatrical. Thriller was a show. Beat It was too raw. Beat It was trying to be a rock song. This is Michael at his best sounding, most creative, most electric, most pop, and I think he had the most input in this song than he had more input in this song than he had his other hits. 3 weeks on top of the Billboard charts. This is the song Jackson performed when his brothers left the stage at the Motown 25, and he introduced us to the moonwalk. An important note, this song provided a huge breakthrough as it was the first video by a black artist to be aired in heavy rotation on MTV. So, little trivia, Pass the Dutchie by Musical Youth was the first song by black artists on MTV, but it was a novelty song. That song wasn't on heavy rotation like Billie Jean was. 2 Grammy Awards and a Billboard Music Award. Just incredible. Michael fought for this song. Producer Quincy Jones wanted to cut this song from the album, but Michael knew it would be a hit. Jones even wanted to change the title to Not My Lover because he felt that people would be thinking the song was about tennis player Billie Jean King. One of the best bass lines, one of the best voices. Michael said of this song, a musician knows his material and he knows when it's a hit. It has to feel right. Everything has to feel in place. It fulfills you and it makes you feel good. You know you have a hit when you hear it. That's what I felt about Billie Jean. I knew it was going to be big when I was writing it, and I was really absorbed in that song. So when a musical genius is obsessed with a song, the way Michael Jackson was obsessed with Billie Jean, you can't help but to note the cultural and musical importance this song levies and continues to have. Your only argument, guys, is that this song was the song playing during the Pepsi commercial where he burned his hair, it caught on fire. Other than that, you have no argument. This is the best pop song of the 80s. Let me hear your argument. Shimon.
Well, first off, Michael Jackson doesn't even sing the best version of the song. It's fucking Chris Cornell. So there's argument number one. Check. Now your hair is on fire, sir. And let's talk about the music video because you know the song's a good song. But let's talk about the music video. You say it's a cool music video, and I agree to an extent. But to say that it's better than Thriller or Beat It, I think you're way off base.
I talk about the song, not the video.
Okay, well, let's stick with the video here for a second because see a lot of things. Okay, you know, first off, you know, he's in love with the song. You'd think he would think of a better outfit. He looks like a geek going to prom. Who wears? I've never seen high water leather pants before until I saw Michael Jackson in this video with high water leather pants and a fucking bow tie. There was no. I honestly think that it is a really great song, but to not choose a song like Beat It, I'm glad that wasn't his favorite song, you know, for obvious reasons. But I think that Beat It was the best song from him of the 80s, best pop song. It's got the great music video. It's got Eddie fucking Van Halen, legendary guitarist, playing the riff and the solo in the background to compete with the superstardom that is Michael Jackson and his voice. He's got this great look in the music video, that cool leather jacket, I like that they brought the gang fighting. What's the name of that old play ran? What's it called?
West Side Story.
West Side Story. Yeah. Thank you. I dig how the parallels with that. The only thing that this video doesn't have, it has Michael Jackson like lying down in like this piano pajama shirt talking about throwing chingazos. It just doesn't really fit. I'm like, get out of here! You're in your mom's house. You're not fighting with anybody. I didn't get the detective and the cameras, and then why is the sidewalk lighting up, and why is he wearing the saddle shoe? It just, you know, there's a lot of things that threw me off for the music video for Billie Jean. It's a great song. It's one of the best songs. Again, I think Chris Cornell stole that song. Like he sings it like just the way like we talked about Johnny Cash singing "Hurt," stealing that from Nine Inch Nails. I think that it's Chris Cornell's version is just better. Having said that, I think that takes a lot of the wind out of it. Thriller was I know it's very theatrical, like you said, but Thriller was such a huge and amazing and like this iconic 80s video song, everything, all of the above, and it still is, especially during October and Halloween, that it's really hard to overcome to choose This one, I think it's a good song, man. I think it's a really good song. But I mean, Michael Jackson. That's the only problem with you choose somebody like Madonna, who's a superstar. Michael Jackson. They have so many great songs of the '80s for you to single out one and be like, no, this was their best. You're gonna get a lot of pullback and a lot of different arguments. Like, no, that's not their best. Beat It was a better song, or Thriller was a better song, or did Man in the Mirror come out in 1980? Was that 79? I'm not too sure.
No, there's late '80s, I think. Yeah,
late '80s. Okay, so there's a lot of great songs from Michael Jackson. I think that's where you're going to get the most arguments from, that he's such a great artist and such a huge artist, especially in the 80s, that a lot of people are going to pick and choose their favorite as being the best one, and it's not always going to be Billie Jean. What about you, Joe?
Can I say something, Joseph, before you? So, at your wedding, Bob, somebody requested that they play Billie Jean. Everybody got the fuck up and danced to that song. Granted, it was 2:00 in the morning. Everybody was drunk. I think some people were on different substances, but everybody danced. The people who didn't dance to any other song that night.
Everybody also danced to the Cha-Cha Slide and YMCA. So let's settle down, sir. Let's settle down.
Everybody felt young for 3 minutes. Nobody's kid was anybody's son that night. Okay.
But a lot of sons were born that night.
Yeah, like I understand your I understand why you picked this song. It's I mean, it's a massive hit. I mean, off of a incredible album, released in the early '80s. So, I mean, how can you argue with the numbers as far as this song? My argument against this selection is, and I don't know if this hurts me in my pick, I just don't. Billie Jean, this whole album in general, like I know Thriller is released, and we're talking 80s pop music. And I know we've talked about the 80s pop tropes and the common ones. And I look no further than Bob's selection. I mean, that's a typical 80s song, the way it sounds. Michael Jackson's Thriller album and Michael Jackson himself. I've always looked at this as a rhythm and blues jazz song, Billie Jean has this groove to it. Great song. It's how could you not select it? It's an iconic.
But it doesn't sound 80s, is what you're saying?
It's not that it doesn't sound 80s. I might be hurting myself here. I know you can dance to it. How do you really dance to this song unless you're doing
the
Michael
robot
Jackson moves?
You get in your socks in the kitchen and then you try to do the moonwalk.
It's just to me, like I've always thought like these songs in this album, particularly Billie Jean, Beat It, even Thriller, I thought they were above, or maybe in a class. I've always kind of considered them in a class of their own. Like they're above the 80s pop trope music that we laugh about and talk about and things like that. And that just kind of credit to Michael Jackson, the singer, and his talent and ability back then. I mean, I know my selection itself might not be so poppy. So, you hear it in the, dance clubs of the 80s and whatnot. Maybe you did. I know we heard this song was probably played out there because you could dance to it. It just has a different vibe to it. And that's why I hold it above such things like I ran so far away, like things like that.
Hey,
like,
fuck you. Flock of Seagulls is awesome.
I hold it above that, and I think it's in a class of its own. But it's always been more of a, I loved his blues inspiration and his rhythm, the R&B stuff, albeit dance-ish with the disco, sound that he threw in there. I understand the selection as far as its popularity and its legacy to this day. It's just it's weird to consider it, to put it in. I mean, I know the song has the synth, the whole. So it's credited. Hey, it's got.
I wish y'all could have seen Joseph do that, folks.
That was on a new mic too.
So I understand that, but I don't. If we're being literal, and I know this, like I said, it's probably not helping my case. I just think it's better than what we make fun of or what we talk about when we think about 80s pop. Maybe it's in a class of its own, and it can't be considered in a class like what we're trying to talk about. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I know Chris Cornell does a slow down. Chris Cornell does a slow down, great cover version of it, but it's a great cover of a fantastic song. The power behind Chris Cornell's cover is that he took a song that we mostly listen to for dance purposes and for the because it sounds like an upbeat song when it's playing, but it really isn't. And when Chris Cornell, takes away the pop and the synth and the disco, it really sounds like, wow, this is a serious song. And I think a lot of times when you're a kid, you don't listen to the lyrics, you're just listening to the beats and you're listening to what makes you have fun. But I think Chris Cornell's cover aids in the fact that it's the best 80s pop song, because now we listen to it from the point of view of like, okay, now we're just focusing on the lyrics. We're older. We understand what these things mean. So I think it's just a powerful song. And I think it's hard to call a Michael Jackson song underrated because he's the biggest star ever. But I think it's an underrated song of his. Let me ask you guys this just to wrap up. The Mount Rushmore of 80s artists. So I got Michael Jackson. I think we all agree. Madonna. I think we'd all agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. And if you disagree, let me know. Okay. Now this one, I think you guys are going to disagree. I have Bruce Springsteen as number 3. Do you think he's in the Mount Rushmore?
Are we 80s?
Yeah. 80s in general. Like when you think of 4, because I only have 3. I can't come up with a 4th.
Billy Idol.
You think Billy Idol?
I think Billy Idol might be up there. I was gonna,
Phil Collins would be my pick.
Billy Collins,
yeah,
with hair, without hair.
I know
Bowie
okay. Spans generations,
yeah,
but
yeah, Bowie.
I don't know. Maybe you can't, like, because
Springsteen.
Because he's 70s and 80s too.
I made a joke with Rand earlier that I was going to pick Springsteen's "Born in the USA." So like, any argument you have against me to call you a commie, anti-American over here arguing against me. No, Bruce Springsteen. Man, I really do like Bruce Springsteen. I do. I don't think he's as iconic as maybe people think him out to be. I think he's great. He's fantastic, but like, I'm never like driving like, you know what I want to listen to? A fuckload of Bruce Springsteen right now.
Oh, I do all the time.
I mean, I get Dancing in the Dark. What's that one we like that he did with the guitarist from Rage Against the Machine, Joseph?
The Ghost of
Tom Joad.
Yeah,
the Ghost of Tom Joad. I fucking love that song.
I like Secret Garden. That was a good song. It's kind of
isn't that a deodorant for women?
He's got a lot of great hit songs, but I think you got to go MJ, Madonna, Bruce. I don't know what the 4th one would be. Who the 4th?
I don't know if I'd pick Springsteen. I mean, I may throw in. I'd throw in. I think Billy Idol was huge in the 80s.
George Michael.
George Michael could be another one, man. George Michael was iconic as well.
How about a dark horse, Weird Al Yankovic?
Weird Al,
for me,
his favorite. I mean, you could even throw somebody in like Cyndi Lauper, dude. Maybe Cyndi Lauper could squeeze in there.
I think so.
Yeah, that's a good question, man. The Mount Rushmore. Who is y'all's Mount Rushmore of 80s singers, man? Y'all send us messages. Let's post some stuff up there. I don't know who the top 4 would be. Cool. I think Madonna. I think you nailed it with Madonna and Michael Jackson for sure. But after that, I don't know, man.
Yeah, after that's question. Mine would be MJ, Madonna, Bruce Springsteen, and I think I'd have to go with Phil Collins, man. I mean, geez, he was everywhere in the 80s. Against all odds, Studio.
Look at me now. That's your favorite song. I forgot the graduation song.
But that's something we could ruminate on. I didn't mean to put you guys on the spot, but I'm just curious.
You know what song I thought of right now?
How curious.
And I had to look it up because I couldn't remember the name. No, but did anybody say "Don't Dream It's Over"?
Yeah, Bob did.
Yeah, dude. Crowded House,
man.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Don't dream it's over. I fucking love that song. I mean, there's a lot of these. We mentioned it with Tears for Fears. So a lot of these bands, these great pop songs, or these huge popular. They have like this great beat, but then you listen to the lyrics as you get older. Like Randy said, you reflect on these songs, and you're like, man, there's some really like heartfelt, sad lyrics as you get older. You're like, man, that really like connects with me on a different level than what it did when I first heard it when I was a kid or a teen. You know what I mean? That's kind of cool that you can go to 80s music and kind of find that in there in a lot of these songs.
And you could find just so many styles in the 80s. You could find like the new romantic era. You could find punk. You could find pop. Toto, Africa, they look like your dads just got together in the garage. You had so many different styles. ZZ Top is another band we didn't mention.
Yeah.
No, and they had a great run with Sharp Dressed Man Legs.
It was those are definitely popular songs.
Yeah.
It's we just the pop in general, 80s pop, like, and Bob mentioned this in the beginning, I think it's so vast, the different forms of 80s pop, the different, pop itself being a genre, but in the 80s, there was so many different genres of 80s pop. Like it's crazy. The dark wave stuff with Depeche Mode, things like that, it's weird.
So guys, let's finish off with this. Last thoughts on 80s pop. If you had to define it, if you had to think aloud about it, what would you say are your lasting impressions of 80s pop?
The sweet sounds of synthesizers on Sweet Dreams.
The Eurythmics is amazing.
I love that song. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I sum it up with like just which is still a good instrument though. I like I said, there's some stuff that I listen to today that incorporate the synthesizer. Kind of gotten into this dark wave stuff. So it's and that's a prominent instrument being used. I mean, it's a lasting impact, obviously, if I'm still listening to some music and some bands that are incorporating some of that stuff.
80s pop is probably the best decade of pop music, and this resurgence in the creation of all the different genres, like we mentioned. I think that it's I think it takes the lead, man. I think it's the best decade for this pop music because of the variety, man. The variety it gives you, and I especially love the fact that a lot of these pop songs like have these sad lyrics or down lyrics or like really like deep lyrics. I think that's pretty cool that it's got that change to it.
As an 18-year-old, a cousin of mine took me to a gentleman.
Club.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Better.
Yeah.
Okay,
and the first song I got to dance to was the first song I ever got to dance to was Kajagoogoo's Too Shy Shy. And this wasn't in the 80s, but
I forgot about that song. That's on my list too.
That song, every time I listen to that, I always think of that moment. Another song I really loved, we didn't bring up.
Funny thing is, for me, it's Living on the Edge by Aerosmith. Anytime I hear that song.
And then like Elton John, I guess that's why they call it the blues. Love that song. And he might be in the Mount Rushmore too. I think you could make an argument for Elton John. He had some big hits. But my last thoughts on 80s pop, it's very special for me. You guys were both born in 1985. So some of the era is a lot of looking back on it, doing research on it. For me, I remember being babysat by my older cousins, and all we did all night was watch music videos on MTV. I had cousins who would buy me cassettes. I had cousins that would buy me cassettes because I would go and borrow them. So I would listen to them over and over. I mean, shout outs to, my cousins who brought me like Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms. My cousin David brought me that, my first ever cassette. I told you guys I knew exactly where I was when the Police broke up in 1986. And man, I cried. We had one radio station that played pop, and the thing was all weekend MTV, Fridays, Saturdays, when we came home from school. The 80s for me was an introduction to everything I love. The people, the artistry, the vision, and the sound. People shit on 80s music a lot because a lot of it was silly and the visuals didn't help. And of course, we talked about bands like, Men Without Hats and the Safety Dance and how some of the silliness sort of took over the era. But it was a special era. And to conclude, as much as we love technology and social media, the simplicity of enjoyment and how a song was a treat and not something we could listen to whenever we wanted without the purchase of physical media. It was very special. And I loved growing up in the 80s and I love my childhood. And so for me, this music just defines all those lessons and good times of, a simpler past.
Randy, don't get mad. I had Don't Dream It's Over playing in my headphones while you were doing all that. I think we should add it.
We should add it.
Go ahead and dub that in the background.
Yes.
Sounded beautiful.
There was
bro.
freedom.
Sounded beautiful.
Oh, by the way, I made my 2 extra selections. I would do Freddie Mercury, and I'd add Eddie Van Halen to it. Fuck it. Those are my 4. And MJ and Madonna.
Yeah. Okay. Not bad. We'll have to ask the listeners what their thoughts are, but good picks. But don't dream it's over, but it is over because that's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what your favorite 80s pop song is. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com and follow us on all forms of social media by searching for Formidable Opponents. We want to thank Creative Little Pill for her great artwork. Please follow her on Instagram @Creative Little Pill. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on any podcast platform you're listening to us on. Join us next episode. We'll be back next week with Best Movie Snack. We're going to do a fun one, a light one. So for Bob and Joseph, this is Randall. We'll see you all next week.
If you put a shitload of butter on your popcorn, we have problems, bro.
Bye, everybody.